In this week's AI news, the price of intelligence was falling, the cost of killing was falling, and its pace rising. The architects of technology were asking to be reined in, and the laid-off workforce was beginning to fight back. The industry freight train is accelerating faster than anyone is able to steer. This is Capital Intelligence for the week of July 17th. On Friday, as Xi Jinping opened China's World Artificial Intelligence Conference with a call to embrace open source and openness, a Beijing startup was the poster child of the event. Moonshot AI released Kimi K3, the largest open-weight model ever announced, and it promptly climbed to the top of Arena's front-end coding leaderboard, passing Anthropic's Claude Fable 5. This may be the single biggest release of the year, Arena's chief executive told the AP, describing it as the moment open Chinese models began to overtake closed American ones. Kimi promises frontier-class ability, open weights, and a price near zero. As the Wall Street Journal's Christopher Mims put it this week, AI good enough for most everyday work is becoming a commodity, too cheap to meter. Chinese models have closed much of the gap. Meta has shown it can match OpenAI and Anthropic on the lucrative coding frontier, and the compute crunch is easing as new data centers come online. That is wonderful for the world and corporate users, but is awkward for the two labs that have staked everything on a premium frontier and are heading toward their IPOs. The day before Xi spoke, China unveiled the World Artificial Intelligence Cooperative, a Shanghai-based bloc of 29 nations, Brazil and Russia among them, with the UN Secretary General looking on. Al Jazeera reported this as a bid to court the global south and help write the rules of AI, while casting the United States, with its export bans and America First policies, as the closed and protectionist power. The strategy appears to be working. According to Pew Research, China's standing in global opinion has just edged ahead of America's for the first time in nearly 2 decades. If the collapse in the price of intelligence was the week's economic story, the acceleration of lethality was its most dramatic turn. CIA Director John Ratcliffe told a Pennsylvania defense summit that a Russian recruit reaching the Ukrainian front now survives, on average, just 20 to 30 minutes because AI-guided drones have become cheap, specialized killing machines. Ukraine attributes more than 80% of its destroyed targets to drones, and Russia is losing some 7,000 soldiers a week. The same logic that is driving the cost of a useful model towards zero is driving the cost of a lethal strike there too. And Washington and its allies are now racing to acquire the underlying technology from Ukraine rather than restrain it. In Europe, Helsing, the best-funded defense tech startup, closed a $1.8 billion round at an $18 billion valuation, drawing Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Canadian pension money into autonomous drones, undersea surveillance, and battlefield AI, only days after German drone maker Quantum Systems more than doubled its own valuation to $8 billion. Wired reported that Foundation Future Industries, whose chief strategy advisor is Eric Trump, plans to give its humanoid robots kinetic capabilities within months, in pursuit of an all-American robot soldier. Any constraints on this trend are arriving late. The United Nations deadline for a binding treaty on lethal autonomous weapons passed unmet, leaving Secretary General Antonio Guterres to condemn killer robots as morally repugnant, but with little behind the words. In Washington, Representatives Beyer, Barrett, and Jacobs introduced the Human Authority over Autonomous Weapons Act, which would put into federal law that a person, not a machine, must make the final decision to take a life, and would oblige commanders to confirm AI-generated targets against a non-AI source. Whether such policy can practically exist on a battlefield where engagements resolve in seconds is a question no legislation has yet answered. The week's most concrete collision between AI and daily life unfolded in an Oakland courtroom. 26 Meta employees sued the company, alleging that its layoff apparatus, comprised of internal AI assistants, keystroke tracking, token usage dashboards, and algorithmic performance rankings, quietly flagged workers on medical, parental, and family leave whose measured output had naturally dipped. They are among the 8,000 jobs cut in May, and they have asked a judge to halt the terminations due to begin July 22nd. Meta insists the decisions were and are made by people, not AI. Layoffs kept landing. Thomson Reuters pared back engineering. British recruiters trimmed costs as AI, and war chilled hiring. Yet a countercurrent of research complicates the apocalyptic narrative. The journal spotlighted demographer Stephen Ruggles, who projects that the American labor force will barely grow this decade before it shrinks. A trajectory that points less toward a glut of idle workers than toward an unprecedented labor shortage, one in which AI looks less like a threat than a crutch. The public has already moved from unease to demands. A Verisight survey found that 69% of Americans now support compelling AI companies to hand half their equity to a public sovereign wealth fund as a way to spread financial gains that are otherwise pooling at the very top in Silicon Valley. With Goldman Sachs estimating that as many as 15 million American workers could be displaced over a decade-long transition, the argument has already shifted from whether AI's spoils should be shared to how, and how forcibly bought they should be. In the same week that a Chinese lab announced a model at the frontier, and drones reduced a soldier's life expectancy to minutes, the three industry leaders racing hardest to build superhuman AI, Demis Hassabis, Sam Altman, and Dario Amodei, independently published strikingly similar pleas to be governed. As Axios noted, all three now want the same things: independent testing of frontier models before release, a single standards body with real authority, American leadership rather than a patchwork of rules, and candid acknowledgement of imminent cyber and biological risks. Hassabis' proposal for a U.S.-led testing authority drew praise from Altman, Satya Nadella, even Elon Musk, a consensus this industry never manages. The builders are asking for breaks. The technology is not waiting for them. Open weights cannot be recalled once posted. A cheaper strike cannot be uninvented, and a plea for oversight is not the same as oversight. Cheaper, deadlier, and unrestrained. Intelligence is diffusing faster than any institution built to hold it. And the most telling sign of danger is that the people who understand it best are the ones most openly concerned. This is Capital Intelligence for the week of July 17th.